It's the SKOR North Twin Show.
All right, SKOR North Extra Innings with Declan Goff here from Target Field. Twins fall today. They aren't able to get the sweep over the Texas Rangers. Unfortunately, Pablo Lopez continues to really struggle for the Twins. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. This is SKOR North Extra Innings. My name's Declan Goff. I'm actually in the baseball work communications comms room. There's a bunch of stuff being printed right now the moment I hit record, so if you hear that in the background, that's exactly what that noise is. Pablo Lopez continues to struggle here. He's the Twins' ace, but unfortunately, certainly not really pitching like an ace over the last few games. Today against, obviously, the Texas Rangers, just goes 4 2/3, gives up 7 hits, 6 runs, all of them earned. Does have the 6 strikeouts, but it's been kind of a tale of 2 different types of Pablo Lopez through the first 11 starts of the year. He got shelled against Washington. He got shelled today, obviously, against Texas. You know, he got hit around a bit against the Yankees. He only gave up the 3 earned runs, but when you look at some of the starts he made this year that have been successful, it's kind of ironic to me. I mean, he had the great start against Kansas City on opening day, which has now turned out to be a very good team. He made a very good start against the Baltimore Orioles, who have one of the best offenses in baseball. And he also shut down Boston and Seattle, who are also above average teams. So it's been such a strange season for him because all those other starts have been bad. I mean, he has an ERA north of 5 now through basically 11 starts. I mean, he's going to make probably 30-plus starts, obviously, if he's healthy. And here he is with an ERA north of 5, which is not where you want to be as the Twins' de facto ace. And if you look up and down the Twins' starting rotation right now, it's Pablo Lopez who has the worst ERA. Couple things. We talked to him in post-game, and we asked, health-wise, do you feel okay? He does. And, the velocity today, I know it's dipped around a little bit in previous starts. It was mostly there today. His spin rate on all of his pitches is up from last year. He's just not finishing batters when he gets ahead of them, or the long ball's also killing them because he's putting traffic on. And there's nothing worse, in my opinion, than seeing a guy who is a very positive dude like Pablo Lopez and a very just happy-go-lucky, goes with the flow, but can kind of see through some of the negativity, and the guy's just down. And I think that's what's probably hard for him to kind of come to terms with right now, because Pablo Lopez is a lot better pitcher than I think what the ERA has shown. I know that can be tough sometimes for people to hear, but if you look at a lot of underlying metrics, his strikeout percentage is still really good. His expected ERA and his FIP is still a lot better than that traditional ERA, which suggests that there's a lot better pitcher that's inside of there than what the ERA is suggesting. And unfortunately for him, though, I mean, at the end of the day, your goal is to put your team in position to win. He has an ERA north of 5, and the offense today totally sputtered. Not going to absolutely put this completely all on Pablo, but, you have Pablo Day here, you have your ace, and you obviously want to see him come through in big spots, and that hasn't been the case here through the first 11 starts. We'll see what happens with him going forward. Again, I don't expect an injury. I don't expect him to be shut down by any means, but this just isn't the same pitcher we saw last year. Now, this time last year, Pablo did get off to kind of a wonky start where the underlying metrics said there's a lot better pitcher that's inside of there, and he should be able to turn a corner eventually, and he did. I mean, second half of the year on, he was an ace. He was brilliant in the playoffs for the Twins, and he just right now is obviously fighting it a little bit. We'll see if they can make the adjustments. Pete Mackey, the pitching coach, ended up talking to the media after the game and kind of echoed a lot of these sentiments that, hey, he's got good swing rate. He's not putting the free passes on as much. It's the home run ball that's killing him, and it's the execution at the end of batters that is also hurting him. He just can't put them away. So it's unfortunate. I hope Pablo Lopez does bounce back here. The Twins can't really afford to have their ace have an ERA north of 5, even though the starting pitching has, I think, kind of honestly as a whole, exceeded expectations, which is weird to say because Louis Varland got off to such a disastrous 4 starts, and your ace in Pablo Lopez has taken a bit of a nosedive. But Joe Ryan's been good, Bailey Ober's been good, Simeon Woods-Richardson's been good, Chris Paddock has, I think, been exactly as expected and maybe a little bit more. But here you sit with your ace having an ERA north of 5 on the season, and you can't complete the sweep, and he's kind of shrugging his shoulders right now trying to figure out what exactly is wrong. So hopefully we'll see if the Twins can make the proper adjustments and if Pablo Lopez can track back in the right direction here with an ERA north of 5 in his first 11 starts. A couple other notes here on the SKOR North Extra Innings podcast. Declan Goff here. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button for a little extra content. on Royce Lewis. So Royce Lewis had another successful day in St. Paul for his second game of his rehab. Rocco Baldelli kind of stirred things up in the pregame on Sunday, saying that he was a little surprised that Royce stole a base. He did that. Royce did completely individually. He didn't get a sign and do it. He just went and stole the base on his own accord. And that was obviously a little bit of tepid expectations from the Twins, that they want Royce Lewis to kind of be easing into some of these things that he's doing. But Royce Lewis has definitely an attitude of, I'm healthy and I want to be here, and he's going to do everything he can to be here. So Saints are off on Monday. Sounds like Royce Lewis, I was told, will remain with the Saints. They're in the state of New York still. They played Buffalo. They had the Rochester Red Wings for 3 games after their off day on Monday. And Royce is scheduled to play in at least 4 games total over the course of this rehab stint. Now, that could be more. That certainly could be more. It could be less. But I would expect, obviously, him to be in the lineup probably on Tuesday and Wednesday for the Saints. Probably splitting some time at third base. He's only been able to DH so far with the Saints, as, again, they ease him in to playing baseball again for the first time in 2+ months. But I was told at least 4 games for Royce Lewis. Probably won't expect him to close out this homestand against Kansas City. The Twins do travel. They have a very tough road trip coming up. But Royce Lewis, if everything progresses there, probably will very likely be on that road trip to play Houston and New York. So we'll wait and see what happens there. Jose Miranda had a bit of a tough day in the field. He had a couple E5s on Sunday. And it also raises the question, too, of who does Royce Lewis take on this active roster spot? This is a legitimate question. I don't think they'd send down Jose Miranda. He's swinging a pretty good bat, even though he had a rough day in the field. Is Edward Julian's, basically demotion to the 8th spot in the order and just not being able to hit a ball out of the infield, does that leave him susceptible? Now, that means you're going to have to play Kyle Farmer every day. I don't know if the Twins necessarily want to do that, but, Kyle Farmer over the last 15 games has shockingly been a better player than Edward Julian. So I don't know what they're going to do. It did sound like at the end of Sunday's game, by the way, Kody Funderburk was optioned down to AAA St. Paul. I'm recording this with you guys at 4:50 p.m. on Sunday, so the corresponding roster move will definitely be on the way. But Kody Funderburk was optioned off the roster. He's going down to AAA. I don't know what the corresponding roster move is going to be after that. But, yeah, I don't – this is a pickle for them to try to figure out, the Twins, because I don't think they'd send down Jose Miranda. And, they sent down Matt Wallner this year after a rough start. They gave Edward Julian a little bit more of a grace, but now Edward Julian is not doing what he's supposed to be doing at the plate. He hit 8th today. He got removed from that leadoff spot. Trevor Larnach was the leadoff hitter for Sunday's game. If this continues and Edward Julian doesn't have a good series against Kansas City, it's safe to say Edward Julian's probably playing for his job, his active roster spot job against Kansas City, if he does not string together a few good games here, because that would make sense. You have an infielder that isn't hitting, and even though Kyle Farmer, not ideal, you bat him 8th, you bat him 9th, he's playing second base, he's not going to be a complete butcher out there. I am curious to see what the roster move does look like when Royce Lewis is activated. There's going to be a hard decision to make. Did mention Kansas City coming to town, obviously for 4 games. Good news, the Twins did not lose a game, at least to the Royals in the standings. The Twins had won 4 in a row coming into today, while the Royals had won 8 in a row. So the Twins never gained a game in the Central Division despite winning 4 straight games, which is pretty funny. But obviously now that Kansas City did lose, they're going to be here for 4. Twins can control their destiny, at least against the first team that's ahead of them. Cleveland wrapping up a series against the Angels, and they remain the hottest team in the American League, essentially. That's maybe not named the Yankees. So Twins will get a chance to at least make some hay against their divisional foe in Kansas City here for 4 games at Target Field. Twins did take back-to-back series here. This is a good sign. They lost 7 games in a row before picking up their first win last Tuesday against Washington. They took that series against Washington. They took this series against Texas. Yes, they weren't able to complete the sweep, and their ace kind of has fallen apart here, and it's just been a very wacky season. Our friend Dane Moore from the Dane Moore podcast likes to call the Timberwolves, the weirdest team ever. I can't steal that phrase completely, and I don't know if this is the weirdest team ever. Might be the streakiest team ever. I don't know. Maybe that's the new saying for the Twins here after they just had their 4-game winning streak snapped to the Texas Rangers. But with Kansas City coming to town, you can hopefully control things a little bit, which will be good. Joe Ryan will be on the mound for the Twins for Game 1 against Kansas City tomorrow. It's an afternoon tilt. There's afternoon tilts on the bookends of these series. If you're coming down to Target Field, they'll have a 1 o'clock and 12:10 start for the first and 4 games, and then the sandwich games of 2 and 3 are 6:40 starts, with Simeon Woods Richardson starting on Tuesday, Bailey Ober starting Wednesday, Chris Paddock will start on Thursday, and the Royals can pitch, man. They made a lot of moves in the offseason. A lot of people laughed at the moves they made. The Royals are good. They've been really, really good this year. Their run differential is one of the best in baseball. This is not your pushover Kansas City team that we've seen in years past. So if the Twins want to take care of business, they're going to have to do it against a really good Kansas City Royals team. There is rain in the forecast here in Minneapolis on Monday. Hopefully that does not delay things too much, again, for that 1:10 tilt on Memorial Day. So we will wait and see. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. You can follow me on Twitter too, at Dex's Tweets, for any updates on the Twins and whatnot. Appreciate everyone who has liked and watched this. I know it's Memorial Weekend, so you're probably enjoying the cabin and whatnot, and maybe enjoying the off day of work tomorrow. Thank you so much for listening and supporting us. You can hit the subscribe button too, and hit the 5-star review on Apple and Spotify. It helps spread the word about this podcast. Appreciate you guys. We'll have Trevor Plouffe on Tuesday with Mackie and myself on the SKOR North Twins YouTube channel and podcast feed. We'll be talking at you tomorrow.